What's up, WWE Champions Universe? Welcome to Champions Chat, the fastest growing podcast dedicated to the WWE Champions mobile game. I'm the Beast from the East, Rusty Graves, and with me, as always, the ultimate disruptor, Lee Brown. What's up, Lee?
Logan Paul, that's what you're giving me? All right,
Yeah,
sounds good.
the Maverick.
The Maverick, the entertainer, the guy who should not be as good as he is in the ring. My goodness, he is insultingly good. But we've actually got someone who's not always with us. In fact, this is the second appearance of one Mherex Gaming. So, Mherex, welcome to the chat. If you had to assign yourself a WWE character who represents you, who would you be, Mherex?
Obviously Mick Foley, 100%.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I like that.
he's not flashy, you know. He comes out in sweats with a sock on his hand and a mask because he's not pretty. But he pretty much will do the dirty work to get the job done. And that's kind of me. I think of myself in the content creation terms like as basically the revival. Um, no flips, just fists. You know, I'm really
Nice.
boring, vanilla. I want to find the easy, fast, simple way, not the flashy way. So that's kind of Mick Foley. Yeah, Mick Foley. Yep, that works.
Okay.
Nice. Well, we'll call you the deranged one, Mherex. So we
Yeet.
always pick a like whatever the byline is for a champion's character during our intro. So I guess that's maybe one of the better Mankind Mick Foley bylines, the deranged one.
That works for me.
Nice.
Well, thanks for being on with us today. We're doing the show in a different format with no live chat and no Twitch. We're pre-recording some content on Zoom, and that's back to our roots, Lee. But
It
you know what
is.
that reminds me of is we were talking about where we started from, and actually Mherex is the person who realized this month is our 1 year official anniversary as official content, I've said official too many times, but 1 year as content creators. And not only that, I think it's an anniversary. Isn't it a 4-year anniversary for Mherex as well?
Yeah, I did my first preview with Zombie Asuka 4 years ago. So October was my 4-year anniversary as well. So we're like anniversary champion soulmates.
Happy anniversary! Happy anniversary to all of us and all of
I
Yeah,
you
love you,
man.
watching.
sweeties.
Yeah,
Oh, so
we
nice.
we wouldn't be where we are if it weren't for you where you are. All of you who have watched our content, left comments, clicked like, clicked subscribe, shared with your faction, reshared it on Facebook, and joined us in the chat on Twitch. Huge thank you on behalf of Champions Chat. I'll turn it over to you guys to say your thank yous.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I never thought we would be in the official champion seat. We were just talking before we actually started the recording about how, man, during the pandemic, what got me through some of those like moments of like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I was working so much, and obviously everything was crazy. Was I was watching Mherex videos, I was watching Gerson videos, some Goldie ones, etc. Like, but that was my daily driver. I would go through a very long day, and then I would watch those videos and play champs. And to be in a seat where now we're sharing our content with others and they are enjoying it and leaving comments on how they look forward to the podcast each week and stuff. Just never thought, undeserved favor is what that is. So that's my thought. Merrick's?
Yeah, I mean, like, I still am like shocked that people watch me, like, or comment all the time. People that watch basically every video and show up to just about every stream. It's like kind of shocking, kind of humbling. It's a lot of things. It feels good. I mean, there's lots of parts of content that sometimes don't feel good. I'm sure you guys know. You get so once in a while you get like a negative comment, and you
Yeah.
mess up a build or something, and then you're like, oh, I suck at this. Those doubts start to creep in. But then you get that comment where somebody's like, thank you so much, this made like a huge difference. And like, for the listeners, I literally can't explain how big a difference those kind of comments make and how good that feels, right?
Yep.
Like, because with me, I don't know that I started necessarily with what is my favorite thing to do now when I was a content creator, but where it is now, I like helping people. That's literally like
Mm.
to enjoy the game more, to get better at the game, all of that stuff. If I can do that, that's a good day, and very thankful for all the people that have supported me over the 4 years. Because without anyone supporting us, I mean, they don't watch us. We don't have anything to do. So yeah,
Right.
definitely it's the WWE Champions universe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the
We're
and
here
what you
for
guys
the
said about the
universe.
pandemic thing was kind of a special time. Like I was streaming like 5 days a week then too.
I
Um
remember.
yeah, and that was for me probably the closest I ever felt to the community. I still feel close now, but not like quite the same because like all of us were in that same boat, like all the uncertainty and all the garbage going on, and we could just kind of hang out for an hour, 2 hours, and not worry about it for that 2 hours, and so that was I've had people say that, and it's mind blowing to me that people say that kind of stuff is what helped them get through the pandemic, and that's actually awesome because who would think Candy Crush Wrestling could actually have a positive impact on people in that kind of way? That's really cool.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
true.
yeah, it's truly interesting. I mean, I'll get comments like I talk to Festabomb every once in a while on Discord, or I'll talk to whoever, and they'll just say like, "Hey, yeah, this is what takes my mind off. This is what helps me get through, whatever's going difficult." And it's like, well, I'm glad we can be there for that. It
Hmm.
should be fun content. It should be just relaxing, engaging, helpful, all of those things that we try to be. So yeah, well, it's great. And said it last time you're on here, but also it's just weird to me to be in this seat now where I was watching your videos and was what, and then like, yeah, we're talking offline, or like I had a weird, so Rusty can enter into this one too, because Rusty was streaming because I was at Taekwondo. He got to be the first one in the community to play LA Bite and was enjoying him and all that. And Gerson and the devs were trolling him, which I thought was amazing on live. And then Gerson messaged me. He was talking, and he was like, "Yeah, one of our teams said, 'Hey, these guys are on. You should watch this.'" And it was like, oh my gosh, like I just, I looked up to Mherex, look up to Gerson, and then all of a sudden they're on our streams. Like
Yeah.
literally it was one of those moments of like my chest is tightening. Oh, what's happening
Surreal.
here? Yeah.
Yeah, it's surreal sometimes. And just to tell you how far we've come, or at least how far I've come with it, like there was a time where Lee would say, hey, here's the MLC pace. Here's the pace that Mherex posted. And I remember thinking, what's a pace, first of all? And then once he explained that to me, my next question was, what is a Mherex? And then he explained that to me. And then I think my next question was, so what is a content creator? Why would I watch a video about this video game that I play? I just,
Right.
now at that point, I was terrible at the game, right? I had no idea what I was doing, but I also didn't know what I didn't know. And so I was just kind of feeling my way forward in those days, never maxing the MLC, never knowing really how to do very much with the game other than swipe gems back and forth, as fast as I could. So it's been a wild journey. One philosopher said, "Started from the bottom, now we here."
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I love that you just quoted a philosopher that way. That's crazy.
I should have said an urban philosopher. That would have been even better.
Oh,
Like,
there you go. That even works.
so here's what I was thinking we could talk about on today's show. What are some things you've learned since becoming a content creator, and for lack of better words, kind of a Scopely ambassador, even though we are not paid or represent the game on any staff capacity. Rarely do I feel like we have quote insider information about the game. And yet there are a lot of things that I think I've learned. I think even Mherex have done it, having done it for so much longer than we
Dun
um,
dun dun dun.
might have some things to reflect and to share. Um, if anyone has one off the top of their head, they can share. I could get it started as you think about yours.
Up to you.
All
Max, if
right.
you got one, go ahead.
No, you guys start.
Okay.
Age before beauty.
Oh, so something I've learned, and maybe the biggest thing I've learned is before, yeah, so our 1 year anniversary, but before doing this, I used to love it when things would go wrong in the game. I used to love
Mm.
it and think, I'm gonna get something really good out of this, right? This is gonna be an exploitable hack or a trick or something I can like take advantage of, or something I can, you know, farm or harvest or whatever it is, right? Grant camping or you know, an exploitable backdoor. I was always thinking about, you know, that when those would pop up, they'd be very exciting to me. Since becoming a content creator, since becoming someone that is streaming with the community and interacting with them more, hearing their frustration about glitches and resets and recalls and callbacks, and I hate when things go wrong now. I hate it.
Yeah.
Um, because I feel like we not only are we in the community, but we're an advocate for the community. And there's a lot of responsibility, and it feels like some impetus behind that, where we want to represent what we're hearing and reading on stream on Discord. And so now when something had, like, you know, the final boss, I'll just reference that, right? Like that was terrible. The tension and anxiety that I felt in my chest from reading through the comments and people coming to me to, would you go talk to Scope, you know, like thinking that I'm somehow going to have a voice in the fix or in the decision. And you and I, we know the reality that we have very little, you know, very, if none at all, voice into how they resolve these issues. So that's a big one for me, is like what used to be kind of fun and funny and exciting is now like anxiety laden and frustrating and challenging and upsetting. Thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
it's interesting you say that because it's absolutely true. For every glitch, bug, something that goes wrong in the game, well, the compensation is often positive for the majority of the game or a big portion of the game. You're not you most people are not thinking, people in general are me centric, right? They're thinking about
Mhm.
themselves until, and why not, right? I mean, that's just human nature. But if you when you actually start thinking about it in broader terms, you don't realize necessarily, unless you think about it, how negatively impacted people are. And if you're put in the situation, then you understand. And that actually, the other thing it can cause is a lot of, sadly, jealousy and infighting among the community too. Like, oh, you got to take advantage of this, I didn't, so now I'm like angry at you. And yeah, what you're saying, when you're in the community, like, that's the worst thing when stuff goes wrong. I didn't So for example, yesterday, I was going to stream. I had planned to stream all day, but with all the stuff that happened yesterday, I wanted no part of streaming, because all it is everyone's upset, and that makes me upset. And like
Right.
you said, I think one of the most shocking things to me was how little actual input an official content creator has, right? Like we can share our thoughts, and that's really cool. Like we get to be on monthly calls now. That hasn't always been a thing where we can share our feedback, but we can tell them. But if the data doesn't support what we say, so for example, let's say you all say XYZ event sucks, right? You hate it. Worst event ever, you're not spending, and you didn't spend. And
The
then we
Rock for
get
president.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we tell them, hey, everyone in our community says this event sucks. They don't want to play it. They're not spending. And then the data shows, well, people played this event more than normal. People spent more than normal, right? Like, so uh, basically, long story short, what we say really doesn't matter unless data matches it. And two, it's
Mm.
always way better for the community to go to the forum, because our voice
Yeah.
is like one voice, two voice, three voices, but you get like 400 people on the forum all together upset about one thing, and then they know, okay, this is a problem, because champions players can't hardly agree on anything, right? If I say the sky's blue, you say it's light blue, you know what I mean? Like if I say it's too slow, you say it's awesome, right? Like I mean, we can't agree on anything. So it is interesting you say that. I think for me, one of the most shocking things was definitely um, how little actual input and extra information we get. Like I assumed I'd know stuff early so I could like hype it and all of that stuff. And that is, simply put, not the case. For example, I
Mhm.
didn't know anything about um Aussie
New Aussie. Yep.
until I was on stream. I literally found out after I was streaming, and somebody's like, "Oh, it's Aussie this weekend," and I'm like, "Huh?" Or it's Aussie this week. I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, there's just a tweet, or no, there's an extra zombie," is what they said, and I'm like, "Okay." They said it was just tweeted, and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that." So like my literally my stream chat is telling me that there's an extra zombie before I even knew, right?
Right.
And that's often the case. They know before I know. And people think, nah, they're making that up. And you think, I surely thought, they had all this inside information and early access, and yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah. And to reference earlier, you said yesterday. So for those, because we're releasing this,
Yeah.
later in the week, for those who don't know, yesterday was Ozzy's release day. And yeah, as far as I know, not a single official content creator knew Ozzy was coming out. It shocked all of us. And then similarly, last night, being Halloween last night, I recorded a blog reveal video, and all of a sudden this morning I woke up and I'm seeing Professor talk about the new moment, and I'm like, what new moment? So I immediately
case,
went to the
case in
midweek
point.
prize wall. Yeah, and there's nothing
Yeah.
on the midweek prize wall, and so I have to go back to like, no, it's in the blog. I'm like, I promise you it's not. Never mind.
I read that last night.
Right.
I'm
Yes.
wrong.
So
Whoopsies.
oftentimes we're the last to know because
Yeah.
we assume we know
Yeah.
business as
Uh-huh.
usual, and then it's released.
Uh-huh.
We're like, oh, I never would have thought to look back at the blog because I looked at it last night, and so that's an interesting conundrum as well. Like we
Yeah.
might read the blog on a Thursday, um, and then it may be
Friday,
different
it's
before the
different.
event goes live on a
Yeah.
Friday. So
Yeah. I would say though the flip side of that is, yes, we have less knowledge sometimes, and yes, we have less influence sometimes than people even imagine. And the flip side of that is, yes, sometimes we don't. Sometimes, but it's inconsistent. Sometimes I do
Yep.
get a blog 6 hours in advance, or even, it's happened before. It's like, hey, a day in advance, what do you guys think about this upcoming thing? And we kind of get to be the proofreaders. And the flip side of that too is, for example, when I made the video for Seth Leonardo about how, we proved on stream that actually Zombie Gunther is still the better coach,
oh.
like we had a conversation between the three of us, like, should we take that video down? Because what if they see that and actually nerf something? What if they actually, and instead it went the other way and they added better version of those trainers in every color, which was great.
Mm.
But you know, and Mherex, you've said a couple times that you know that one of your videos has caused real changes in the game that you're like, oh, I didn't expect that to happen. So there
Yeah.
are times where we actually have a disproportionate influence, and not just through
Yes.
these calls, not just, but even just we'll say something on stream and all of a sudden we're like, yeah, we looked at that and we changed it, and we're like, oh my gosh, I just changed something in the game, like for
Yeah.
thousands to tens of thousands of people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it seems like it's almost usually by accident.
right.
Right. Whoops.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
We
you know,
wouldn't
you're
want
you
them to change things. We wouldn't want them to turn down the power on something,
Unless we do.
right?
I mean, there have been a few times when I've wanted them to turn down the power of something for sure, but like most of the time though, yeah, it's like I usually if my thing is usually if somebody's like extra bad, I want them to turn up the power on somebody extra bad. That's definitely something where I'll be
Yeah.
like, yeah, this one sucks, guys. Come on, maybe a little bit more.
Right.
Poor zombie Cody. Poor
Rest
zombie
is still
Cody,
Oh,
waiting.
our neglected stepchild in the community. Um, just he could have been so good. He could have. He's had so many chances, but now he is still an underwhelming Voltron who gets yet another moment.
He's great if you have literally every
Oh.
single of the
everything,
things and
yeah.
a top line bonus.
And
Well,
somehow the prior
Midline.
year's Chase Zombie Rey Mysterio has infinitely better gear than Cody, as if they wanted us to just continue to use Rey for eternity.
I
Ugh.
love Ray.
and
Yeah.
and I mean, let's face it. In the wrestling world, Ray is horrible, and Cody's amazing. Yep. Shout out Iron Sheik.
I
Weenie
know.
with the
I was gonna
mask.
Whoa!
say Dork Jr., weenie in a mask.
Nice.
Oh, we love you,
Yeah, I
Sheiky.
actually, I actually am not a Ray fan. He's amazing. And like I should be, but like even back in the WCW cruiserweight days, like he was not my cruiserweight of choice. I always preferred like Kidman, Chavo, because Chavo made me
Yeah.
laugh all the time,
La
La
Parca.
Parca, yeah, all those guys. Like, and Ray was great, but just never. I
Who
think because his promos don't do it for me.
who was the
Yeah.
guy with the Minotaur mask and headgear? You remember him? He had like
Yeah.
a wig. What was that guy's name?
I'll think of it in a second. Or are you talking about hold on. Yeah, move on. It'll come to me in a bit and I'll be like, oh, it's Jushin Thunder Liger.
Hmm.
Is that who you're
I don't
thinking
think
of?
that's who it was.
No, he was a Mexican luchador. I'll look him up while y'all talk. What is
Okay.
it? What some other things
Psychosis.
from that era, right? Or I mean, not that era. From
WCW?
since becoming a content creator that you have learned, or just things are not the way you thought they would be.
I think
I
for me, oh, sorry, Merrick's.
No, no,
You
no.
go
Go,
ahead.
go, go,
Okay.
go.
So for me, it's just interesting. I know, my Enneagram profile and some of that, like I try to not be people pleasing side of things, but I definitely have that as a default sometimes. And like, for example, we were doing the stream on the power rating for LA Night, LA Bite, and Bunders was messaging in the chat and was like, "Hey, don't run him the way you're running him. Run him, with the double yellow red instead of the pyro build. It doesn't work." And I was like, "It hits 250 million. It's fine." But behind the scenes, what was going on? And Bunders and I had a good chat about it, so hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing. But he was getting really frustrated that I wasn't like listening to, like, he's like, "Hey, I've talked to Mayor. Like, I know from Mherex, I know from Professor, this isn't working the right way." I was dead sick. I mean, literally, I had a 103-degree fever through part of the stream, and towards the end of it, I hit near 104, and it lasted 3 straight days. Like it was a
That's
bad
crazy.
time, and so I had to message Bunders like, "I'm so sorry. I literally was not trying to ignore you. I was barely able to pay attention to the chat. I was barely able to pay attention to, like, I did the default build, not just because that's the one I would normally run at that point in the my understanding of him, but also because I couldn't think of much else. I just had to go on like instinct. And that was a good illustration of like how on the one hand, we want people in the community to enjoy our content. We want people to get something from it. Like for me at least, the reason I do it is to be helpful, to elevate those people who were in factions like we were, where we weren't getting the top rewards, to where they're able to get more out of it, because you're going to spend the same amount of time in there. I want you to get more. And misunderstandings like that can come in, where just something you do or don't do, all of a sudden people are out, or just the excuse me, the side of it to say, like, I know everybody's going to have their favorite content creator, and I never expect it to be us, but you get comments every once in a while, like Mherex mentioned, of, oh, these guys are the worst, or they did this, or we'll share in the content creator chat. Somebody's like, oh, well, you used the drip plate, which we don't use, so it's not us, I'm just saying, but you use the drip plate, or you use sherry, which I have started using in our videos, therefore I can never watch your videos again. And it's like, well, I I'm literally trying to be helpful. But the backside of that, and I'll finish my thought out, is we do have access to a lot more than we did when we weren't. Like when we first started this channel, literally the 3 minute move sets were whoever I had on my roster, because that's all we
Right.
could do, right? And now we do have a candy store account. Now we do have this. And so it does definitely shape our view, shape what we do content wise. Because obviously, when we were unofficial, I wasn't going to be running LA Byte with the top things and all this, because I wouldn't have had him. Now I have access to that. Now I have to remember what is common in the community, what are they actually going to be able to use from this, and try to strike that balance. Because in a preview video, for example, you want to see what can this guy do on its top end, but also I try to think, how do I not leave behind those who aren't going to have this, because I probably don't on my own roster. But then again, that's also come a long way since, as Professor said, you start to invest in your channel differently. So, yeah, that's the weirdness for me. So, Merrick's, go ahead and go on yours, because I didn't mean to take up
No,
all that
no,
airtime.
no, I'd already said something too, but I just something else that I learned and is still learning all the time because it doesn't sink in. So like, and I'm not, this isn't like fake humble or any of that when I say this, right? Like I don't get it. When you guys say like, like you're on the same stream with Mherex or you're talking with Mherex, I literally, it doesn't connect to my brain. I don't get it. When people say, like, I've literally had people when I DM them be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe Mherex is messaging me." I have people message me
Yeah.
where I saw you in feud and I was so nervous I was shaking. Like I just don't, I don't, it doesn't connect. And the reason
Right.
I'm sharing this backstory is because I don't think I ever understood how much my words would mean,
Yeah.
both
Right.
potentially negative or positive, right? Like, and
Right.
for me, you guys know I'm like brutally blunt. Like I am so blunt. I'm like a baseball bat, right? Like I just if my if something doesn't make sense to me, I'm just like, well, that's stupid, right? Like
Right.
without thinking, because to my brain it just says that's stupid. Like if I can hit hard enough and it's
Right.
completely safe, why would I do something slower? My brain instantly says stupid, and that's my like reaction. Like just the bluntness of it, because that's how I see it. Now there are other ways to play the game, and the game should be fun. So whatever's fun for you is how you should play it. But I
Right.
often do not like express that necessarily, and I think there have been times when I have trying to do the right thing have ran people over, have not been
Yeah.
thoughtful enough,
Me too.
and because I don't think of the fact that what I say, why would what I say matter to anyone? Why does my
Right.
opinion matter? Like literally, I don't think that way, and so I try to remind myself once in a while, and that has been surprising and actually difficult for me on a personal level at times because I'm not the world's nicest person for sure. Um, but at the same time, I don't ever actually want to make anyone feel bad, right? Like,
Right.
I'm fine being like blunt. If you're a dick, I'll be a dick back. Like, I'm not that kind of a good person, right? Like, what you get, I will reciprocate back, no problem, no issues. But I don't want to ever hurt anyone needlessly, like, or
Mm.
undeservingly, if that makes sense. Like, so that's what I mean by I'm not a good person, right? Like, if you got it coming, I'm okay with you getting it, right? But if you don't, then I feel horrible if I did that. So
Right.
that's been something that was really, still is weird on all those levels, because like, I suppose, like, our community's super small, right? Like, so we're never going to meet them on the street walking down unless we specifically go visit them and talk to them, right? Like, no one's going to come and be like, hey, you're Mherex, right? But I
Right.
suppose it's similar to that sort of thing when you're like a small, I'll call it a small celebrity before you're famous or whatever. When people are like, hey, aren't you? And I'm sure it feels very weird for them. And because to me, I'm just still the same exact person I was making crappy videos. I just more people know I'm making crappy videos. You know what I mean? It's just, and that's been really surprising, both in, mostly for me in I guess kind of in a negative way, because I feel like sometimes I do unintentional damage and that bothers me.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. I agree. Like I say, there'll be times where on a stream I'll say something or I won't say something, and somebody will be like, "Hey, what about this? You're not, you know." And I'm like, "Well, because I wouldn't do it that way, you know, or I just missed it, or there was one stream I know where there was a big reveal, and there was lots of people on there, and I felt bad that I wasn't able to keep up with a lot of the comments. And I was like, I hope people don't think I'm ignoring them. Like I'm not trying to, but again, it's that balance of we're here for the community. We're also flawed human beings, and hopefully you guys can see that we have faults galore that sometimes are on display. So anyway,
Just
Rusty, what do
just
you, oh,
normal dudes that happen to be making videos for Candy Crush Wrestling.
that's right. That's a good way to look at it. Normal dudes with attitudes.
Normal. I was gonna say normal people making videos for normal people.
Ooh,
Um,
new tagline.
I've got another one. I mean, now this obviously I'm trying to be super positive when I say this.
Ooh, trying.
But there was a surprising. I was disillusioned when we first became content creators, but I quickly learned that the other content creators are not my faction and they're really busy
Yeah,
and they don't have time to sit around and chat with me on Discord all day. They, in fact, probably won't watch most of the videos I make. They may or may not join a stream from time to time. And when I do, I'm surprised and grateful. And
right.
yet I don't know what I thought it was gonna be like. Um, but that's I've had to keep that in mind to keep from getting offended or um um just so like Merrick's is a great example, right? Like because he's here, I'll use him as the example. Like
Oh, great.
I if I based my happiness as a content creator um, on whether or not Merrick's has feedback for me on my preview break it down video of Zombie Bailey, and if I'm crushed when he says, "Oh, I didn't have time to watch that. I was making my own videos," right? Or I stream on Tuesdays, right? So whatever the normal, natural, honest answer he gives me, I have to be ready for it and not have my ego in a place where I rise and fall on the approval of other content creators. Um, where I think as the new guy, I really wanted to be validated or told like good job kid, you're doing it, welcome to the team. And yet the team is already mid-game. They're already playing the game, right? So
Right.
it's almost like I joined a marathon at mile, 12, right? And they've been running and running and running. And then they'd be like, this is great. I'm not tired at all. Like,
Right.
yeah, that's because
What's
you
going
just got
on?
here. We've been doing this for years. Right.
Right.
So I like it's not that, and I hope that didn't come across as negative in any way, but it's like
No.
that's something I've learned is that
Right.
like they're busy people, and I have to like I can join in what they're doing and celebrate it, but I can't expect that that from 8 other content creators. I just can't.
Right.
That's super unrealistic for me to expect.
Well, I'm gonna blow your mind here because I'm gonna make a baseball analogy to this. Oh my
Whoa,
gosh, what is
sports!
happening here?
Lee, the sportsman.
Ooh, right. Okay, so I think to follow up, because I think we're in similar boats on this. I think when we joined the content creator team, the idea is we're all playing for the Yankees, whoever, doesn't matter, but we're all on the Yankees now. Yay! When the reality is I'm the Yankee, or I'm the Rockies, Mherex is the Yankees, you're the Mets, and Davey D is playing for, the Brewers, it doesn't matter, whatever team, but
Right.
but we're all playing for different teams, but we're in the same league, so to speak. But
Mm,
it is different, right? Because all of us have our own, franchise or whatever that we're trying to take care of. All of us have
right.
our own fans that are coming to our stadium, that maybe some of those fans go to your games that don't go to these games, and etc. But
Right.
it did help me understand, or that does help me understand, like, oh yeah, we are a team, but it's like, but we all have our own, you know, Yankees versus Mets. I don't know. Is that helpful at all? Because that's the way my brain is taking it now, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I'm curious what
different.
Merrick's would say about that.
Yeah.
So I think very similar. I didn't come in at the start either, right? So when I came in, Gerson was the juggernaut that was Gerson, right? Like there's
The
in
juggernaut.
content champions content creator land, there's Gerson and everyone else. Let's be real.
Right.
No one
Right.
will ever even remotely approach Gerson
Right.
status. The Mount Rushmore of champions content creation is just Gerson. Yeah, it's one. Yeah, right.
Hello,
So
champions.
right, like and it's not even close. So
Right.
I mean, and then DJ had been going a long time, Davey had been going a long time, BPP
Both
was on
awesome.
getting close to being done at that point, Big Papa Brian. um but he'd been there a long time. Benny had been there a long time, right? And then who else? Was there anyone else that was? I think that was it when I joined. Hopefully I'm not
Was
forgetting
Goldie
anyone.
official?
No,
Not
Goldie
before
was after me.
Mherex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Goldie was after me. Yep. Um, so I think like I had no idea what to expect, and you guys can vouch for this. I am not the greatest team player anyway, because I got this weird. I do things the way I do things, and I don't always even know why I do them that way or want to do them that way. But that's kind of the way I am, and I have my own idea of the way things should be, and I try very hard to make them that way. Sometimes too hard. But yeah, I think in the sense that I think we're all in the same league, that's a really good analogy. We're all peers, right? We're doing the same thing. I
Mhm.
actually, and this is the truth, um, I like some of you more than others of you, because like I said, I'm brutally honest, right? Like I have my favorites, and I have ones that are less favorite. That's
Ah,
like life, right? Like truthfully,
brutal. You're about to
right?
crush one of our worlds. You're about to
No,
make
no,
one
no.
of our worlds and
I'm
crush one
talking
of our
about
worlds.
no, I'm talking about all the CCs.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the
Yeah,
two
I'm
champion
not gonna
chat
choose
guys.
between I'm not gonna choose between you two. That'd be like choosing between two children. How could you do that?
We're like the Tuso zombie, the two-headed
That's
zombie.
Right.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. You're two entities acting as one.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. but
That's what our
like,
marriage license says, at least.
Wait, you and I have a marriage license?
You didn't know?
Does my wife know about this?
Oh,
It was
you
one. It
didn't
was like a
know?
Triple H and Stephanie wedding. I drugged you, and I drug you
Yeah.
through Las Vegas,
Oh,
Chapel
geez.
of
Do you
Love.
take Rusty? Yes, he does.
That's hilarious.
Oh, that's gross in so many ways. Thinking about having to sedate someone to marry them, like that,
Right?
like
Oh, I
in the
thought you
age
meant
of
marrying
consent.
me. I'm like, oh,
No,
this
Yeah,
is, I'm taking a
that's gross
beating
too.
here
in the
today. I'm just
age of
kidding.
consent now, from what we know about
Oh yeah.
consent,
CDs and stuff
to
was
think
not
about
Yeah.
that storyline is disgusting in
Yeah.
Attitude
2024.
Era was horrible for that stuff.
And we should have
Absolutely
known
horrible.
better then. We should have
We
known
should have.
better
Right.
then to
Yes,
go, this is
100%.
wrong.
But we
This
Right?
is,
didn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
we just
Right.
idiots. We were idiots. God.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Attitude Era, we were probably teenage boys, so we were
True.
definitely idiots.
Definitely
Definitely idiots.
true.
I was in high school
Show,
during the Attitude Era.
yeah,
So, yeah.
show me a teenage boy, I'll show you an idiot.
It's
I
very,
mean,
it's very
it's
forthright.
kind of,
Yeah, we don't
like
always
I said,
grow up
blunt.
from that either, you know.
Yeah, no,
But
no. Anyway, having said that, I want all of them to be successful, right? I literally wish nothing for the best of them. Uh, that being said, sometimes I actually very much vehemently dislike what they do, uh, because it's so different from what I do, right? And
Oh,
that's not
okay.
bad. That part's not bad. I just don't like it for me. And I'm
right,
trying
Right.
to use the right words to explain this so you guys understand. Um, I think it's great that they're different.
right,
I
Right.
just don't like some of the different things, right? So like it's hard for me sometimes to try and like collaborate or do things. Plus the time factor. You guys know when they did the first one, I said, I'm really worried about telling you yes, and then something happens and I
Mhm.
cancel on you.
Yeah,
Because one thing that is hard for me is the feeling of letting somebody down.
Mm.
mhm.
And that actually bothers me more than a lot of things. So while I'm a dick and a jerk and I don't care about a lot of things, I don't actually want to let people down. Um, and that includes people that don't even like me. I don't really want to let people down. That's a weird thing. Um, so it's a lot of stuff that factors into it from my end, along with not like I have a very specific vision of what I want from my channel, what I want to do. Like you guys, like I said, no flips, just fists. I don't do a lot of fancy builds, right? Like I don't try and hit hard. My goal is not to show the best setup. I in fact rarely use the best setup I could in my previews, right? Like I haven't used Leonardo since he came out, even though he's on my roster,
Right.
and I won't in a preview. Like these
I
are just
forgot you had
things.
him.
Yeah, and most people do because like I don't, right? Like it's just yeah. Uh, I get embarrassed when I have nice things. Actually, I feel bad almost because like and I know I spend a decent amount on the game, and I work really hard at it,
Yeah,
and
me
that's
too.
okay. Yeah, but I want very much so to show the character so that anyone watching has an idea, or at least 90% of the community has an idea how it might play on their roster,
Right,
right? And or like some semblance of an idea. Because when I was not a content creator, I would watch a video and be like, okay, great, but I have no idea what that looks like on my roster.
Right.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
and I don't always get this right either. That's why I try to do the budget build series now too, because as I've been a CC longer, I have to worry about falling out of touch with the average person. I feel like because my roster is ridiculously stupid, and
Right,
the stupider it gets, the harder it is for me to be rooted in reality, right? So
right.
I don't have a Ghostbuster plate. I try to never use one. I assume
Me
if I
too.
don't have a plate, that most 99.9% of the community don't have something if I don't have it. That's generally how I look at it, and I try to be really careful with it. But back to what you're saying, Rusty, it's I try to encourage people when I can, but also I found I don't always do that the best way. and
Mm.
sometimes trying to do a good thing, I've done a bad thing or hurt somebody's
Yeah.
feelers. And so like I'm very cautious now too about giving advice, because sometimes giving advice steps on people's toes too, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
It depending, and I'm not good about my words, and that's partly me. All of this is partly me. I want that to be clear, right? Like it's partly me too. So I think in my case, generally, if you ask me for feedback, I will give it, but be prepared if you ask
Right.
for the truth.
Right.
Nice.
And
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I've been pleasantly surprised at times by how nice content creators have been, and also unpleasantly surprised at times on the opposite end. Like just in
Yeah.
general, no, not naming names or any of that. I
Right.
think we're all, as you said, flawed humans, and we all have our times. If you're going through like a bad patch or something, or on a bad day, somebody just like annihilated you on videos, and somebody's like, "Well, Steve-O here did this in his preview. Why didn't you?"
Oh
And then
Right.
man.
that
Yeah.
yeah, right? Yeah.
Because
And
I'm
then
not
that person
smart like him. That would be my
right?
response.
Because I don't care. And then
Yeah.
that person might message you and you're just like, "Bruh, leave me alone. I don't want to
I
talk to
do
you."
I do think the community has very low expectations when they know it's a rusty video. So like I feel like I've set the bar very low and I have a consistency with it. No, but and in reality, I if I'm known for two things as a content creator, I hope they're that I made you laugh and then I pointed you to someone smart who figured it out. Because like
Mm.
I reference other content all the time. If I'm making a
Yep.
video, you say, "Hey, I saw Mherex do this," but I was thinking for my roster, it's a little different. So like I usually have a starting point of reference to another content creator, and I'm just trying to be engaging and kind of entertaining with it. That's always
Right.
kind of my shtick. And I think for Lee, he's able to think through a loadout or a plate interaction that I need to see someone else do it before I um
Mm.
before it really clicks for me. So
Yeah.
And I think like that's completely fine, right? Like so I think the important thing is that you be yourself, whatever that
Mm.
is. Any content creator. So if somebody's listening and wants to be one, don't try and be like Mherex, don't try and be like Rusty, don't try and be like
Right.
DJ. Just be
yeah,
yourself.
right.
And that's the best content, when you're just being yourself. And that's what I've learned over time too. I've always been very me, but I've also learned that that's okay. And a lot of times people watch you because you're you. I mean, like, really
Yeah.
Mm,
creating content, if you have an opinion, is the important part.
Right.
Even
mm,
Right.
and then support your opinion and give your reasons why, and people can agree or disagree. But either way, at least you had something to say.
Yep.
yeah.
That's one of the things I think maybe felt surprised by becoming a content creator, kind of bridging the two conversations we're having. One, just to clarify, like, I think I imagined when we came into the CC team that like, oh, we always hang out, we always talk to each other, we all, and there's some of that, like everybody's friendly, everybody's amenable, but I think, like we
Yeah.
said, people have schedules, people have lives. Like we talk
Mhm.
about the fact that like my kids, got something going on. So sorry, we're not, DJ said one time in the CC chat, and I think this is safe to say because it's not, anything he wouldn't want repeated, but he was like, guys, hey, I don't have time to watch everybody else's videos half the time. I've got life, I got work, I got this. It's not that I don't like you guys. It's not that I don't want to see your stuff. I just don't have time. Sorry. Like, and I think that's kind of the same with some of that. And then the flip side of that too is, and Merrick, you and I have talked about various characters or whatever that, I think the personality side of it is good. And I've had
Yeah.
people on our streams, like when we power rated Zombie Becky, I had lots of people say, hey, Merrick says she sucks. She's terrible. I was like, actually, she's one of my favorites, like legitimately. And then I'll troll you on your stream, be like, hey, don't forget Zombie Becky. She's the best. But you legitimately don't like her, and that's okay. Like there's
Yeah.
Right.
reasons that you can validate to say, this is not the character for my roster, where she is one of my all-time favorite zombie females. And if it weren't for Zombie Bailey, I would still be arguing to this point that she's the best zombie female in the game. But it's the opinions and the well-intentioned differences of opinions that the community
Yeah.
goes, oh, maybe it's not. Like I said
Right.
on one of my streams that Zombie Live was not one of my favorite things to play with. And I had people go, wait a second, she's legitimately like my best zombie. Are you saying she's bad? And I'm like,
Boo. Bad
No.
take.
wait
Bad
a
take.
Right?
second. She's
I
Boo.
not
hate Liv
bad.
too.
She's just not for me. You know?
I
I
love
hate
her.
Liv too. I hate
I
Zombie
love
Liv too.
her. She's my favorite.
There's
See,
nothing wrong with that.
that's what we need. And like you're saying, right? This is a very healthy thing because we are free thinking individuals that are not trying to toe a party line here, right? We're not trying to give a uniform answer. Scopely doesn't give us, here's your script, here's exactly how to
Right.
run this character. In fact, they don't give us how to run a
Yep.
character when we are doing a preview. It's all, what does this do? It's like the first, it's like we open the box and we're trying to piece it together. And I think that's part of the fun is to see the
Yeah.
diversity of opinion across people that are making videos about them. And even it's fun to get it wrong and to be
Yeah.
told you've got it wrong and to be able
Right.
to laugh about it. To me, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to be kind of
Yeah.
harangued about something.
I had
But
what I feel like was one of those moments of like, oh, I think this means I'm officially a CC. Like Rusty and I, power rated Batista, and we did it based on the information we had at the time. It was, I felt like it was a good power rating, good video. And then Two Bob released a video saying like, hey, they got it wrong. And two things happened. One, he did it respectfully. So there's no what's it called? Heat in the WWE
Right.
in the wrestling industry. There's no heat. He did it respectfully, but I went through and I was like, okay, two things just happened. One, someone else made a video that isn't us about the power rating system. Now, fair play, Two Bob was one of the ones that helped kind of shape Two Bob and BDC helped us shape the early drafts version of the entire system. So, but still, it was like, oh, like somebody else is making content about a concept that we helped shape. That means like, does
Right.
that mean we've made it, or does that mean it's like infiltrated the community in a way that's meaningful? And two, it made me go like, okay, do I look, do I watch this going, how dare you? That was our power rating, but like really like so ultimately Rusty and I talked and we just made the video of like, yeah, Two Bob's right. Like his power rating was objectively better than what we did. Now there's been some months of time where some of the things he did were like he mentioned like solo, like he works really well on Showboat Solo. Well, Showboat Solo wasn't out when we made that video, but it does show like this is something useful, people are interacting with it, and our content is being wrestled with, which is humbling,
Cool. Yeah,
to
it's
say the
really
least.
cool.
Humbling.
yeah, and like that kind of stuff's pretty cool. Because like ultimately the content creator getting people talking about things is good. Like, so I don't want to make somebody look better, worse than they are, just what they are, right? And so, and having discussion about
Same.
this game is how I've learned the most about it. Like, that's why a lot of times, like, I have a lot of conversations with people about the game. I think I know a decent amount about the game, and a lot of it is not stuff I would have learned without talking to people about the game, right? Like
Right.
hours and hours. Like there, I have people that I talk with on the daily strictly about the game, stuff going on in the game, what works, what
Yeah.
doesn't, trying stuff, figuring stuff out that you don't even know until you try it, and things like that. And the game is constantly changing too, so you can know absolutely the way something works, and then it changes.
Yep.
Um, and but as to what you're saying, and I'll probably hurt some more feelings here about what DJ said about watching videos. Like, I have two reasons for not doing it, and I basically watch no other champions videos. Very rarely. If you guys ask me to, I 100% will.
Right.
And it's got nothing to do with anyone's content. It's two things. One, time. That's a huge one. Because if I'm not making content, working, I'm probably playing video games with my wife if she's home.
Mhm.
Right?
That's
Because the
funny.
kids are older now and or sleeping, right? So that's most of what I do. I can't even keep up on wrestling as much as I want. Like I watch
Mhm.
wrestling, I catch the PLEs, but I don't watch as much NXT as I want. I want to watch AEW because my boy's back, right? And it's really hard to keep up with everything.
Who's
The
your boy?
second
Oh,
reason,
is
Who's
it
your
Adam
boy?
Cole?
Austin, yeah, Adam Cole, baby.
Yeah,
Oh, of course.
baby.
Yeah.
Um, and the second reason, and this is maybe interesting or not interesting, is I don't want other videos to influence my take,
Right.
right? I want to, so like, this is also why I struggle doing live previews the first time because I have a system for me. I don't want anyone else to talk to me about the builds. I don't want any to see it, what anyone else ran. I want to go into it with a pure untainted mindset where I dissect the character the way I do. I usually don't use my favorite moveset on paper first. I usually save what I
Mm.
think is going to be the best for last because my brain says when I find something that's amazing, stop, right?
Yeah.
So I have a certain way of doing things, and I do the same thing with computer mods. Like when I modded computers, people that also modded are like, "Did you see this mod? Did you see that mod?" I'm like, "No, I don't look at mods." And they're like, "What do you mean?" Like, I don't
Mhm.
look at them because I want my own. In my brain, I have an idea of how something should look or be, and that's what I want to do. Not somebody else's vision that I was like, "Oh, that's great. I love that." And so I actually try to avoid that because I might see a video of 200 million damage and I'd be like, well, dang, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And like, okay, well, I don't have anything to add to that. At the same time, there have been times when I've found builds that other people didn't try that maybe don't hit quite as hard, but are certainly faster, right?
Yeah.
And if I had watched something previously, that may not have happened, right?
Mm.
Like so and as far as like ideas, I want my ideas to be my ideas, and if someone else did them, great, but this way I know they weren't influenced by someone else's idea, right? Because our community is super small, right? If we had like 30 content creators, I mean, we would have so much overlap anyway, and we have a lot anyway, but I still
Right.
think that all of our videos have their own flavor. Like somebody will say like, "Oh, Professor already did a video on this. Why are you even bothering?" And I'm like, "Well, because he doesn't play the same way I do."
Yeah.
Yeah, or like so Sheriff's Badge, I did a bunch of videos, and the Bubba video I had a comment about like the people this has been done a million times already. I'm like, I know, I did it originally 5 months ago, but
Right.
I want this video for my Sheriff's Badge collection, right? I'm
Right.
doing literally doing a series on Sheriff's Badge and a playlist that my viewers, when they get a Sheriff's Badge, can click on, go to the playlist, look at everything. It's for my catalog. I don't care what anyone else has done. It's literally for my catalog, for my viewers. So they click on the playlist and there it is, right there, easy to hand, right? Like, so yeah. I mean, like, yeah, it's interesting, but it's all good.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
very
I
cool.
mean, so I think we can leave this thread, but I think it's interesting, too, is like, well, of the content creators and stuff. So yeah, following up, it is one of the things from being a CC is I have less time to watch other CC's content, but I would say one of the differences in that and a healthy difference is I do still try. I do still try to, catch Mherex's videos. I do still try to catch DJs. I do still try to catch Benny's and well when Goldie comes back and on and on Sir Zorro and and here I am trying not to miss anybody, Davey D, Benny, etc. But it is different. It is different because yeah, I do wait to watch their videos until like if I know they've got a build, I don't watch it until I've done our builds. Like I don't want to get influenced. But like going into the power rating, I do often try to check out and see like did one of
That
the other
makes sense.
CCs figure something else out? And a good example would be Powerhouse Cody, not Zombie. Uh Rusty was like, "Did you see Merrick's build with the tricolor?" No, I did not. I didn't watch it yet. And then Rusty ended up being the one to make that break it down video for us. But until we had our content out, I didn't want to do that. But then when we went into the power rating, it was like, hey, Mherex actually has a better build on this. Similarly, when we did the Should You Take Bradshaw to 6-star gold video, Sir Zorro was like, "Hey, make sure you use this setup," and it was like, "Okay, let me check it out," because that's one of those things where I'm like, "Okay, I'm not gonna." I mean, Bradshaw can be run 50 different ways. I pulled
Right.
one of your builds, I pulled one of Zorro's builds, but what I did was just say like, "Hey, I want you to know I'm taking this from Mherex. I'm taking this from Sir Zorro. I'm taking, etc." And I do still like I'm a sucker for polls videos. We've talked about this before, so we won't go down into it. But I do try to catch when DJ does a poll video. I do try to catch, when Davey does a poll video, because although I don't like when people hit skip all. Davey and I've talked about this. I don't like when people hit skip all. But then there's this other pressure, and I don't think it's a pressure, but it's a weird feel of like, okay, now when I hop into somebody else's stream, it says something different than when I was not official. And so
Yep.
there are people that I want, like I try when I see Iron Sheik or Two Bob or Leisha Darling, when somebody who's on the unofficial squad goes live, MRM 316, love seeing his stuff. Again and again, I'm like, I'm gonna forget somebody and I hate that. And so but either way, whenever Leisha goes live, I'm like, okay, is she playing champions? Or is she playing Destiny? If it's Destiny, I'm okay. But like I have to do this, like, do I have the ability right now to interact? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like my presence doesn't mean a lot, but it does say something, and I want to be able to go in and do something meaningful and like, hey y'all, I'm glad we're here. Not because I want to shine any spotlight on me on Leisha's stream, but I know Alicia's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, thanks for being here, thanks for supporting," and etc. And so it does have a little bit of a different feel. So I weigh that out. Like, do I have the bandwidth right now to step in? Whereas
It's
before,
the
I could
thing,
just jump in anonymously and hop
right?
out. No one would care.
It's the thing. It's
Yeah.
absolutely a thing. And like some things are weirdly emotionally taxing. Like not mentally, not physically, but like if you if you like so like take a preview. Some previews I put a lot of time into because it just I play them until I feel good about it. And if you spend like 6 hours on a freaking preview and then somebody poops all over it and you're like, dude, you have no idea like how much effort I put into this, so you would have an idea of how the character would run on your team. That can be like emotionally taxing. And then on the flip side, people, if they're like, notice me senpai when you're in a stream or something, that can get
Yeah.
really emotionally taxing too. And I love interacting with people, but there's only so much to go around sometimes. And then the
Right.
flip side, I worry about, will I take away from the other streamer if I go in there and talk?
Yeah. Yeah. Because you don't want to hijack their stuff.
Right?
Like, that's
A-
not what you're
a-
here for.
a- And then the worst thing is
Hmm.
when somebody says like, "Oh, Mherex, you're my favorite content creator" in somebody else's stream. Dude, don't say that right here. Come on.
Right.
Have some
Right.
Ah,
it,
whoops.
it's so that's
Nobody
so
says that to
rude.
us. It's okay.
You
You know,
no, it no,
Lee.
that's so for people listening, I just want to say this. That's so rude. Please don't. If you're in another streamer's stream, don't talk about like Merrick's did this or that. If you want to DM them, fine, or whatever later. But that is on a infinitely rude level to me. Like, don't be like Merrick's did that better. Merrick's already did that. Let them do their thing. Encourage them. Like that. I sorry, just getting this mini. Here's one of your mini rants you were talking about. Like that is
They get
so
views.
rude. Yeah, let people be people, let them do their thing, and then when it comes time to talk about it, be like, "Hey, have you considered this?" And if they say, "Okay, well, maybe sure," then if you want to say Merrick's ran it this way at that point later, that's fine. But you don't even need to say my name, right? Like just let people do their thing, let them breathe. There's so much room
Mhm.
for everyone in champions, like, and part of it is I think
Good.
because of the kind of people we are, wrestling people, like there's always verses. It's one versus one or two versus two, right? Like people have this mentality, oh, DJ's my guy, Mherex is my guy, right? Like what? dude, just watch videos. Like
Right.
I get stuff wrong all the time. I have my specific play style. I'll crap over all over Lee's Becky, and Becky's great, but I hate her. Just because I hate somebody doesn't mean they're bad, for
That's
sure. It
okay.
just means I don't like their play style. By the
Right.
same token, I know there's people I like that Lee can't stand, and that's perfectly fine. So that's also fun discussion. So make it fun
Right.
discussion. Mini rant over. Sorry.
So let me transition by saying this. One time we were on stream and Lee said to me, and I couldn't see the chat. He said, "Hey Rusty, our favorite content creator just popped in the chat." And I froze like, which one? How am I supposed to know which
Right.
one it is? Oh, do we have a favorite? Right? And
Right.
so I took a gamble, a shot in the dark. I said, "Oh, Goldie's here," right?
Yep.
Thinking, well, at least that won't offend anyone if I say Goldie's my favorite. Sure enough, that was who popped in the chat. I got it right
It's
on a
hilarious. And
blind.
I set you up to fail. I am so
I wish
sorry
I
for
had that
that.
kind of luck with the loot though, because I was like, who, which one is he talking about?
Right.
They're all my favorites. I love them all. So let me just throw out this algorithm for you guys. Speaking of, right, each person that creates move sets, loadouts, previews, etc. So the total variations possible in champions would be the equation of M over 6 times E over 4 times P over 2, meaning the number of moves that a superstar could use. They'll have, 6 moves to choose from. They'll have 4 entourage to choose from, but E equals over 600 now, right? So, and then P, number of plates. How many plates do you think are in the game? Like 50 more?
Oh, there's more than that.
Yeah, there's got to
60?
be more than 50. I
80?
mean, look,
Just take a guess.
I was gonna say there's the plate whatchamacallit on the website.
So,
so I
so
own
this is,
422 skill plates.
oh
So
gosh.
there's got to be at least 50.
Whoa.
Well,
You have 10 of
just at,
each.
so even if I lowball guessed 80 because I'm a smooth brain dummy, right? So I guess
After you just throw out that math, you're not that smooth
there's
brained.
600 over 600 entourage, and I said even with 80 plates, the math would be M over 6. So that's M6, meaning the number of moves. So whatever moves you want to put on any particular superstar, but then you have over 20 million times 3,160 combinations of entourage and plate per superstar. So 20 million times 3 would be, let's say, 60 million, meaning there are over 60 million variations or possibilities per superstar in the game. So to say, well, oh, have you thought about, well, Mherex did it this way, or why are you doing it like that? Why are you run? Because of the infinite opportunities to explore, just by the mathematics, what works and what you have on your roster and what you may not have on your roster, what's actually super rare and what's not super rare and what's common. So just, I think the math alone says, holy cow, it's worth watching an assortment of different videos to see which one works for you and which one you like and which one you can get some traction behind. Right? Isn't that wild to just think about the math there?
Yeah, at this
It
point in the game,
is.
there's so many freaking combos, and and again, different play styles, right? We can, like you said, we were talking earlier, and I am like on the opposite spectrum of Lee when it comes to pulls. I'm the weird gotcha
I know.
player that hates pulls. Lee loves pulls, right? And then you take like and uh absolute opposite end of the spectrum playstyle for me. You have me, super simple, straightforward, and you have Zoro, super creative, big damage, right?
Big damage.
Neither is the right way. The right way is you having fun,
Right.
right? And the right way is you playing the way that you want to play. And the great thing is you can see us play the same character in two completely different ways. And you will hear me talk like my way is absolutely the only way or the best way to play it, because that's how I talk when I'm in like creation mode. I'm going through it in my brain. When I say all of that, that is completely an opinion based on my roster, what I have, how I play, what I like. In no way, shape, or form should you take that as the absolute like end all be all truth to it. It's simply put what works for me.
Well said. Well
Rusty, I
said.
want to give you a little bit of time to talk. We've talked more.
That's a
I
lot of
feel like
variation.
so. That's a
Yeah,
lot of it.
I posted the equation in the chat just so you guys could see the numbers. So changing the plates to 420, I think it was the number Merrick said. So it would be 202, or it'd be 20 million times 87,000 times six
Well,
moves. So it would just
I
be infinite, basically.
I own 422, and I probably don't have more than five. Most plates I have like onesie twosies, so there's got to be at least 100, right? Like I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, maybe just one final note on like what we've learned uh and since becoming content creators. Number one is this. There are times where the game has been unsatisfying, unrewarding, and frustrating, and yet the community is why I think we continue to do this. Something I've learned is that it's not always about the game. The game is kind of the thing that breaks the ice for us to connect with each other, but the connections are what make the frustrating times in the game palpable, navigable, if that's the right word. So yeah, there's like this week, like we're recording this literally the day after the werewolf glitch, rework,
Event.
I don't know what to call it, event. And we know people are feeling unsatisfied thus far with how it's a work in progress. And yet, going into my faction's voice chat, going into Discord and hanging with the crew. I personally, I don't care that much about how it's resolved, because I know some are going to hate it, some are going to love it, regardless of what the resolution is. But the community is why, and how I think we'll get through it. The one anothering and the friendships and so I think that's the biggest thing I've learned is just that you start making content for the community and realize somewhere along the way that you make content because of the community. And
Mm,
then somewhere along the way, you realize that I just want to be in the community, and it's the content that gives me access to do that to a broader
Yep.
level. So,
Yep.
that's well said. It's very
I
well said.
uh yeah, I couldn't actually agree more. I've almost stepped down from being a CC, and if I did that, I likely would walk from the game like at least 5 times. Like I've been, in fact, one point I was so close, I told Mrs. Mherex, I'm done with the game. I'm 99.9% sure. I'm giving it 3 months though to make sure. And if something doesn't change in that 3 months, I'm gonna quit. Even though, but the reason I stayed is not because of the game. It's not because of being a CC. It's because I actually, the part I enjoy, and this has been the most surprising part the most, the part that keeps me around has nothing to do with the game. It has everything to do with interacting with people on stream and getting that, hey, you just you just made a difference in some way in my life, whether it's the stupid game, whether it's, hey, I was going to spend on that and didn't, or hey, I wasn't going to spend on this event, but you told me how I could get this for cheap, or um, whether it's like I was having like what I'm not I don't want to get emotional. So I was going through something and it helped. Like that's what I like best about being a CC. And if by some chance it helps you play Candy Crush Wrestling better or worse because you watch me cascade all the time and execute poorly, that's just a bonus, right? And that's the really thing I think that has shocked me. I think originally I just wanted to be part of a video game because I've always loved video games, you know, wanted to have inside track notice like to be part of a game because I've always wanted to design or work on video games. That's like a childhood dream. And so I
Yeah.
think that was my initial biggest purpose behind it. And now the driving purpose isn't that. When I was thinking I was done, I was just like sad because I wasn't going to have that interaction where I felt like I was interacting in potentially a helpful way, if that makes sense. And so yeah, and the community ends up giving back way more than they know just by a simple this really helped me. And that's not asking you to say it. I'm saying
Right.
when it's sincere, like that is one of the coolest things that you can have happen. And so for me, that's been probably the biggest surprise and probably something people don't know why Mherex actually keeps doing it. It's because you say things like that.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, we had somebody comment, and from a behind the scenes standpoint, obviously, I wish we could respond to every comment. I wish we could, but yeah, life's crazy sometimes. But every once in a while, somebody will say something either in Discord or on one of our videos, and I'll screenshot it, or Rusty will screenshot it, and we'll send it to each other. There was one recently, somebody said like, "Hey, I legitimately love watching these power rating videos. Can you just make one every single day?" And it was like, oh, that was so sweet. Like it was unprovoked, it was whatever. And so we texted it to each other. And some days have been harder lately than others. And so those type of comments really make a difference for
that's
us. And
right.
so we're not fishing for them, but we do appreciate them.
Yeah.
100%.
When I started a job years ago, Lee, something my father-in-law told me is that I should keep an encouragement file
Yeah.
in my desk drawer, or he called it an attaboy file, right? The
Yeah.
times where you've done good, and on a hard day you can pull that out and look through. Maybe if somebody's written you a handwritten thank you card, or if maybe you made a good grade on a grad school paper or something like that, where you take time to just reevaluate, like, oh, this is the things are
This is
better
the
than I
moment.
feel. Things are better than I feel in this moment.
Right.
This moment feels heavy, and this moment feels weighty and terrible, and yet here are the impact statements, if you will, of the contribution. Um,
Yeah.
well,
Someone I know, he calls it their fuzzy file. And so I've always
oh,
adopted that. That's my fuzzy
that
file.
sounds very inappropriate, but we can we can
Well,
we can
I'm
keep
sorry, what?
moving.
Now I'm really interested. What?
Yeah, I bet you are. But you know what, Mherex, if you have any final thoughts for us, we'd love for you to be able to share them. But we're going to need to wrap up this episode soon because I'm going to have to jump in and head out to carpool and pick up the kids.
I just want to thank you guys for having me on. And I've really enjoyed you guys coming on the CC team. Like, to be honest, like,
oh,
we talk a fair amount and stuff, and I like you guys a lot. You're just good dudes, and I like talking with you, and it's fun. So even though I don't get on your stuff super often necessarily like this. Oh well, phrasing, yeah, Rusty. I just saw his face, right? I try to make streams and
Yeah.
support when I can and stuff, but you guys are just really, really nice dudes, and that's what I appreciate the most, to be honest. And it's I like the fact that I can consider you guys friends. So thank you.
oh, well, thank you. It's an honor. And likewise, Rusty,
Well,
you were
that's
going to say
all.
something. You go.
I was just saying, well, that's all. I bet I was going to say, Lee, wrap us up, and then if you had any final thoughts.
Um, No, I mean, this has been fun, and this is literally just three guys hanging out, having a conversation. So if you wondered what this was all about, this was us unplanned, unprovoked, just going like, hey, we just want to get together and spend some time together, and we enjoy spending time with you as a community. So be sure to check out Mherex's streams. Be sure to check out Mherex's videos. I would say, everybody knows Mherex's content, but be sure to go to it. It's great. Like it, subscribe, all of those
True.
things. And if something we said made you want to drop a comment in the comment section, we will do our best to respond. And if we don't, check us out on Discord because we're a little bit easier to respond to there. That's it. That's all I got. Enjoy the event. Hopefully, by this point, when this drops, you have had all of your wildest November MLC dreams come true already. See you on the next one. Bye.